All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, I do believe that we are. I see the chat is working just fine. We have all sorts of weird stuff to talk about today. I'm going to rehash the Hamas tunnel story. I did cover it this morning, but I wanted to cover it again because the situation is so potentially dire with regards to what's happening over in the Gaza Strip. Of course, Israel planning to flood the Hamas tunnels. We'll be talking about strategy versus optics and some of the long-term potential detrimental impacts of choosing to do so, especially using seawater. I know it's pragmatic given the circumstances if you want to crush Hamas, but there are some problems we will talk about from an engineering standpoint. Hunter Biden has been indicted on 9 new charges, so these are all tax-related, actually. He beat the gun charge, basically. And I still expect them to give him a slap on the wrist. What's important here is not necessarily Hunter Biden's malfeasance with regards to taxes, because, I mean, anytime that somebody's not giving the government money in tax form to go bomb people, I don't really have a huge problem with that. I'm going to be a principled libertarian, sort of like with the gun charge. He lied on the gun form. He shouldn't have had to file one in the first place. What really is meaningful is the connection with Joe Biden. So the tax malfeasance is just part of one piece of the puzzle, which is much, much larger. The big picture is more the big guy getting his 10%, mainly from Chinese communists. That's basically what I actually care about. But we'll dovetail that in with the story. We've got a suggestion. Particle physicists offer a roadmap for the next decade. A Muon shot, it's a play on the term moonshot, of course, aims to study the basic forces of the cosmos, but meager federal budgets could limit its ambitions. Yes, they're trying to build a particle accelerator even more advanced than the Large Hadron Collider in the United States somewhere. I actually support this. We'll get into some people's hesitance towards particle accelerators later as well. I remember the Large Hadron Collider was supposed to blow up the world already. It never actually happened. I'm a little bit throaty today, by the way. The Biden administration, of course, moving to seize medical patents from private companies, effectively nationalizing the medical industry in the United States. Also, Bitcoin's bounce back, and the Financial Times remains bearish, I think, on this one. We look through the article, you'll see that for yourself. And then Elon Musk is going after Bob Iger from Disney because they pulled ads from X, formerly known as Twitter. So we got lots and lots of stuff to cover today. And I may be a little bit low energy today, admittedly so. I did not get a lot of sleep last night. We can thank the kitty for that. By the way, thank you very much for that image, which I have posted on Twitter. Retweeted on Twitter earlier with regards to the live stream being canceled. That was posted by Sean Scarpetta, and that is one of my favorite all-time Sticks images. So thank you very much. If you're listening, I really did appreciate the chuckle. Liz found it funny as well. BW, Dems get majority back in House by Repubs leaving? Yes, I think that the Democrats will take the House in the 24 election. And then lose it probably in the subsequent midterms. I think they lose the Senate, and I think the Republicans probably hold that in 26. Right now, I would anticipate Trump being reelected Grover Cleveland style. So you have a Republican president with kind of sort of the support of the Senate. A couple of the big neocons are leaving, so would face less obstruction. So for nominees and stuff like that, it's good. But the House, I think, will obstruct. Absolutely. Even if the Republicans hold it, there's enough neocons in there to side with the Dems, who are their natural allies. Aerodynamic 11, happy Friday, Sticks. Hope you and yours have a great day. Clank on, you crazy diamond. Thank you very much. Liz is making potato leek soup tonight, so it will probably be a good night. 0x, hey Sticks, I hope you're doing well. Why do American leftists act like they care about Palestinians? I find it strange that a lot of white people are obsessed with the issue. I've been seeing a lot of cringe videos lately. I care about all people in the world, speaking only for myself as a non-leftist. They mainly do it for ideological reasons because they want to decolonize the world, which means the extinction of most European diaspora. And in order to be sort of coherent on that, they have to also stand against the Israelis. That's the only reason. BW, I meant they get it before 24 because of leaving. No, I don't think they'll get it before 24, but it's already like razor thin. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter when you have a handful of Republicans that are complete neocons in the House anyway. Trip Boom, with everything going on, why would they vote for Gams to get back in office? I don't know. And, he did a follow-up, Dems. Because people are fickle. They're going to blame, I mean, the House Republicans are a mess, admittedly. They can't get their shit together. So, I mean, it's their own fault. Definitely their own fault. I mean, they're Republicans. They can't help it. Fire down below. Is Powell honking the numbers to protect Biden? No. Jerome Powell is not doing that, actually. The numbers are just bad on every possible level, actually, at the moment. And Biden is below 40 in approval. I think he's going to have an uphill battle getting reelected. Anyway, first we're going to get to the main news in foreign policy. Then we'll get to Hunter Biden afterwards, the main domestic news. Right now, Israel is already preparing the pumps in the literal sense. They're preparing to pump the sea into the Hamas tunnel network that's below the Gaza Strip. The thought is that you can effectively, you're smoking out the bees. You're getting Hamas out of their tunnels and onto the surface, and they can't operate below ground anymore. And that, I mean, strategically speaking, number one, it'll work. I don't deny that. Number two, I mean, if you take the IDF's position, it's justified. And number three, it's relatively cost effective. Literally, all you're doing is pumping seawater into a tunnel network. It's more than tunnels, though. It's tunnels, basements, bunkers, and other shit, probably cave systems, too, for all fucking anyone knows. Some of these tunnel networks are on a little bit on the ancient side, by the way. And so they're planning to pump them full of seawater. I don't have a problem with drowning a bunch of Hamas members. Again, disclaimer, I don't take a side, Israel versus Palestine or IDF versus Hamas, but Hamas is not a moral army. They take civilian hostages. There is rape. There is torture. Not that the IDF doesn't do the same. And so I don't really care if they die. There are several problems here, which become glaringly apparent when you know the basics of architecture, number one, and of strategy, number two. The first problem is that Hamas is probably keeping a bunch of captives down in their tunnel network. Some of them will drown. So Israel is effectively sacrificing them in order to flood Hamas out. The second problem is that Hamas has effectively been smuggling in for decades and decades. Maybe not the best construction supplies in the world. Supposedly there are locked doors down there that are watertight. It doesn't really matter in the end because Israel can rig as many pumps as it wants. That's point number one. And point number two, the construction materials aren't the best. The problem is that salt water is going to react with the underlying strata there and seep out into the soil through every nook and cranny, every little crack that exists there, into the sub-basements of homes, apartments, hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. What you're going to be left with over time is you're going to be left with a Gaza that is brackish and incapable of agriculture, number one, pockmarked with sinkholes, number two, with buildings that are tilting dangerously and threatening collapse at any time. This will take some time. I don't think that as they flood the tunnels, all of a sudden you're going to see all of Gaza City subside by 20 feet and just collapse or something like that. Although with the tunnel network as extensive as it is, it wouldn't even be a particular surprise if that happened. What I think you're going to see, though, is that Israel pumps the tunnels full and the salt acts on the cement and on the concrete with a corrosive effect and certainly on any metal that's down there. So the metal hinges and so forth on Hamas's supposed locked doors. You're going to see basically Gaza will collapse in its own footprint. Much of it, not all of it, but you're going to see craters form effectively. There will be more craters from the sinkholes than there have been from IDF bombs effectively. The area will collapse. The problem is that Israel has stated intent to annex the region and administrate it. If you intend to administrate this region and you've effectively ruined its infrastructure and made it completely uninhabitable, I can't think of where they're going to put the Palestinians. Now, somebody mentioned earlier today a tenuous plan to potentially repatriate them to Cyprus or to the Kurdistani region of Turkey. Erdogan might be amenable to that. We're not sure. There are other plans that call for them being put in Egypt and the Sinai, being put in Jordan, or relocated to the West Bank, which isn't really possible because of settlement intrusions. The problem really is that I can't imagine rebuilding the area when you've flooded so much ground underneath. And by the way, I do see Ryzik says, as a civil engineer, that's just really is not true. Sorry, Sticks. I did get somebody earlier claim that to be the fact. I can't imagine that Hamas made the tunnels watertight. I have to imagine that this fluid is going to seep out into the surrounding area. You're going to cause damage to the soil. You're going to cause the liquefaction of elements of the surface. And I'm glad you're a civil engineer, know what you're talking about, but you're talking, I think, about modern architecture. You're talking about things built to first world standards. Elements of the Hamas tunnel network are probably held up by nothing more than arched brick, because they're using whatever supplies they can possibly grift off of to create their tunnel network. Some of these are substandard third world homes, again, connected to the tunnel network through the basement system and so forth. I can't imagine that they're going to hold up under the pressure involved. Number one, those doors, if they exist at all, will probably blow. There will be corrosion. There will be seepage into the surrounding soil, and I can't imagine that agriculture will any longer be possible. That brackish saltiness will seep up through the soil over time. And I say this as somebody with experience in agriculture. So perhaps we have different fields where we have more of a forte in. I'm not claiming that it necessitates the immediate collapse of Gaza City. What I am saying is that when you're pumping that fluid in there, it will cause corrosion. That's number one, and it will seep out, number two. The problem is that Israel will have rendered areas uninhabitable. Even if they pump it back out, there would still be damage of some sort, I would assume. And the other problem is the captives that are down there. Hamas may leave them down there to drown. And the first time that a bloated body of some Malaysian captive floats to the surface outside of a sewer drain, it's going to be international news. Israel is losing the optics war. What I would suggest, if you really want to clear the tunnel system and you don't care about the captives dying, you should hook up a bunch of generators and pump gas into the tunnel system. I have a feeling there's a reason why the Israeli military would not want to utilize poisonous, heavier-than-air gas for that particular goal. But it's possible. And considering, again, that these tunnels are probably not particularly watertight, they're certainly not airtight, and it would work. Really brutal. You'd kill a lot of civilians potentially in the process, but you seem not to care if they're dead anyway, so... Lord of the Ree, Owen Schroyer is getting out of prison today. Clank, yes, I covered that the other day. Alex Bogey, Russian and Ukrainian Orthodox Church has been a disappointment. Too much for holy men to get between the front lines. Tell brothers to stop killing. Yeah, you'd think no more brothers wars was the cry of nationalists a few years ago. Dat Pie over there. Have you tried a freshwater aquarium with a grow bed on top to clean the water? A fun project and gets you some nice indoor herbs year-round. Father Fish on YouTube is a great source of info if you do. Yeah, they generally use tilapia for that, I believe, for that particular kind of agriculture. I have seen it. I've never experimented with it. I prefer terra preta. I want to make like a Viking garden at some point. You know, you dig it down below the frost line and so you can grow longer and you put a hoop house over it and shit like that. Hugel culture is great, by the way. The Grizzly. What do you think of Elon putting up a poll to see the way the wind is blowing on unbanning Alex Jones? He should have done it without a poll. Just bellied up to the bar and let it the left melt down. Yeah, but he likes to be sort of full participation. I think that he likes the spectacle. I have a feeling Alex Jones will be unbanned. eminently, which I think is a good thing. Oscar Goldman, you're my go-to news channel each morning. Thanks for all of your hard work. Here's a few shekels for you. Thank you very much. Mystery Guest 01, sending $100, by the way. Thank you. You're the only political commentator I recommend to everyone. Thanks for keeping it level-headed and insightful always. Yeah, I may not always be right, but I always try my best. And I've never sold out to a corporation or any other interest, and I don't have some government agency telling me what to say, which is more than I can say for some content creators that will remain unnamed out there. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you, Sparky. Medic Babe 21D, bring the Riva and the Sea of Hamas, we will be free, edited for YouTube sensibilities. Sparky, aren't they going to dig it all up for a canal that's supposed to compete with the Suez Canal anyway? I've heard that there's a weird tenuous plan to create an extra canal in the region. I mean, you could, I suppose. I think it would be a little bit more like the Nicaragua Canal that's never going to be built. You remember years ago when the East Blockers were telling me, well, the Panama Canal will soon be outflanked by something built by China. And they started to dig in a little bit. And then they faced mass protests and by ecological groups, by farmers, etc. And then they said, well, a cost estimate of this is going to be a lot higher than we expected. Oh, shit. And meanwhile, the Panama Canal was being massively expanded at the same time. What I told people years ago is the Nicaragua Canal would never be built. It was a doomed project. It's a pipe dream. What the Chinese wanted was a base in the region. And indeed, they built their base. Yes, they got what they wanted. It wasn't a canal. I think that the same thing probably will be true if they try to build a Gaza Canal, too. Jason Binder. Hey, Sticks, sorry if you've already discussed this. What are your thoughts on GTA 6 trailer? I think it looks, assuming that the graphics are half as good as they are in the trailer, I'd probably like to play it because I loved Vice City, the PS2 game way back in the day. I like GTA Vice City. If they've remade it with modern standards, I'd be willing to play it. It may or may not be good, but I mean, it's definitely eye candy, assuming that trailer holds true. Vognarvik Gaming. Happy Friday, Clank Sticks. Thank you for the advice to start something new in 2 months on YouTube. I've had over 100,000 views and 100 subs. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good on you. Yeah, it's not easy these days to break through on YouTube, by the way, so definitely congrats. Dat pie over there. Tilapias for large-scale crop growing. I, at the moment, have a 10-gallon tank with guppies, a betta, and shrimp, and it's giving me endless mint and strawberries. And you can eat the shrimp. I just fill it full of shrimp myself. Shrimp are delicious. Shrimp are great. Especially raw. Put them on your sushi. Gib Javelin. Twitter still be suspending for retard reasons. And when one tries to appeal, one talks to a bot. What is the solution to this? Clearly, censorship is not going away. It's refusing to. Legislation? I don't believe in legislating censorship away because censorship was supported by the government in the first place. I support the free market making its decisions. SC Woods 1947 is now a monthly subscriber on Rumble, by the way, or supporter rather, on Rumble. Thank you very much. Again, I don't exactly know how the monthly supporter system works, but I appreciate it. Gorgeous Mayhem. You think there is anyone in the Uniparty that is starting to say maybe it's better if we just let Trump win for fear of what may happen if they don't? It's possible, but I can't get inside of their mind and say that for sure. Sparky, but Sticks, aren't you afraid with Alex Jones back, the establishment will find it harder to keep up their narratives? Yeah, I mean, it's a real big problem for MSNBC and Vox. Alex Bogey, is one father to another. Would you return to the U.S. to fight in a civil war if it happens? For me, it's hard to sit out the Ukraine war, though my son needs me. I would rather not die in war, if preferable. If I thought that the Western civilization was going to collapse, I would take what action I felt appropriate. But yeah, I'd have to wait and see the circumstances. Diamonds Recon B4. Morning from Alaska. Clank on. SC Woods 1947 says, Clank. Thank you very much. Trip Boom. Sticks, did you see that Australia is going to pass a bill to make it illegal to misgender an individual up to 2 years sentence, possibly? Yeah, we'll see if it passes. And that's a little bit beyond the pale, but if anywhere, Australia would be the place to fucking pass it. They're Canada. Irish. Hey, Sticks, please shout out my sister's first book. It's an illustrated children's book. Willow the Wiener Dog, A Heroic Tale. Okay, Willow the Wiener Dog, A Heroic Tale, available now. Next news story. We got Hunter Biden charges. He's facing 9 tax-related charges. Apparently, he didn't even file taxes for a couple of years. Why he thought he would get away with that and not get investigated, even though he was the son of the then VP and prior senator, remains to be seen. It seems like he was so cracked up and so fucked up, you know, literally and figuratively, screwing thousands of hookers across state lines. It seems that he sort of lost control of his capability of understanding risk and reward, or the fact that he's not actually invulnerable. But Hunter is actually, and I've seen several legal experts, they've weighed in on this and said, okay, now Hunter actually is in some level of doo-doo because of the charges against him. The fact that it doesn't look like he's going to get a sweetheart deal this time means he could spend several years in prison. In the end, I think it'll be just repaying the money. I don't think they'll put him in prison. And if they do, it'll probably be to try to force Biden to drop out. Like there may be some sort of backstory to that, although I'm not fully taken in by it. Also be talking tomorrow, actually, about a different plot that could be unfurling, where Biden decides to gobble down the delegates by remaining in and then endorse somebody else and refuse to run and effectively handpick his successor. I'll talk about that tomorrow. It's definitely an interesting concept, an interesting theory. Not sure I fully endorse the theory, but it's possible. We've seen the most chaos politically over the last half decade that we ever have as a country since at least the Civil War era and Reconstruction. So it's possible. Pretty much anything is at this point. They threw out 250 years of civic precedent to indict a former president of the United States on spurious charges. So we'll wait and see. What I wanted to talk about, though, isn't Hunter. I don't care if Hunter Biden skeeved on his taxes. I don't care if you skeeve on your taxes, although I would, disclaimer, I would warn you it's probably not a good idea if you have any political opinions. There's a reason I pay technically a bit more than I owe on my taxes. I'm paranoid. It's helpful in life, by the way. I don't care about what Hunter did or his lying on the gun form or any of this other bullshit, the alimony payments and child support and stuff, and Joe Biden's extra grandchild that he refuses to put up a stocking for and even talk about. What I care about is Joe Biden's involvement politically. We know that Hunter Biden only got the money that he had and therefore cheated on his taxes because of the huge amount that he was paying because Joe Biden exists. He was selling his name. He was selling Joe Biden's influence, and I do not believe for a moment that it was just the appearance of influence. And as I pointed out this morning, here's the problem. We're being asked to believe that effectively Hunter Biden is the mastermind behind this. The crack smoker was the mastermind. That's point number one. That his mastermind-ness was effectively, hey, I'm going to get dad on the phone, even though he swore up and down for the better part of 2 years he never talked to any of his associates. So we know that he lied. We know that up front. Just keep that in mind. We're supposed to believe that Joe Biden came onto business calls and all he did was talk about the weather. The problem arises that those business magnates trying to buy the influence of Joe Biden by paying Hunter would have expected more than that and would have pressed issues that were related to geopolitics, economics, legislation, etc. I'm being asked to believe that in all of those cases, Joe Biden refused to discuss those topics and demurred and said, well, come on, man, we can talk about that next time. And again, that would require coordination with his son to even bring up that excuse, and simply went back to talking about the weather, and Hunter still got a bunch of money from these countries, from China, from Turkey, and from elsewhere. Under no circumstances would that happen. It's unbelievable that it would happen, because no business magnate meeting with Hunter on such a call would think they weren't getting scammed if that were the case. Effectively, there are two options. Either Joe Biden did discuss the business dealings, did discuss geopolitics, and was lying on a totally different level and probably broke the law in the process, or there's the possibility that they threatened these individuals, thus breaking the law as well. The law was broken. I don't care about Hunter Biden's tax returns. I do care about the big guy. And that's what all the legacy media reporting, including from Fox, is glossing over. They briefly mention Joe Biden's malfeasance occasionally. Some of them do. But otherwise, mainly it's just about Hunter and the fact that he cheated on his taxes on a regular basis. But I don't give a damn. Hunter Biden was a private citizen. What I care about is him being the bag boy for the person that was in office at the time. The Grizzly, are you excited for the new Dune movie? That's one of my favorite books. I did like the first one, and they did a year or two ago. I didn't even know there was a new Dune movie. I probably won't watch it. Ozzy's Robots, good morning. Could I ask for a collective clank for my dad Antonio, who passed Wednesday morning at 95 years young, and my mom Vittoria, who turns 88 today. They celebrated 65 years together this year. That's about all. Peace out. That is a long goddamn life. Congrats to him for making it to 95. Should have been a member of the Senate, Ozzy. Anyway, yes, so rest in peace to Antonio, who passed Wednesday morning, and Godspeed and good luck to Vittoria. Georgie Georgiev, UA war is really close here. We are arming, buying F-16 and Murica armor. Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece. We learned our lesson. Yeah, wouldn't want to deal with that coalition. Jason Lord Surratt, thoughts on Texas suing Pfizer? I was not aware that they were, actually. I'll have to, if you can DM me that story on Twitter, somebody, I would very much like to cover it. Alan Tenaz, when I started dating my ex, she was like the Nicaragua Canal and all, but I left her like the Panama Canal. Clank. Goodness. Sparky. Garland Nixon still banned on Twitter for not towing the establishment line. He got Taiwan to realize they may be the next Ukraine. It's possible. Although, again, logistically speaking, invading an island is vastly different from invading a country that you share a land border with. Alexander Bakos. Hi, Sticks. Greetings from Greece. What do you make of Erdogan and Mitsotakis' positive meeting the other day? Do you see Greece and Turkey going to war over the Aegean anytime soon, or is Erdogan just all bark? I don't think he wants to go to war with a fellow NATO member. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Plus, Greece has a huge amount of armor, doesn't it? For a country of its size and population, I think, don't you have like a fucking 1,000 tanks or some crazy shit like that? And a shit ton of submarines? Carr Eller. When will the internet rate ever drop back down? There are 5 overpriced houses for sale. Oh, interest rate, sorry. In my neighborhood, and no one is buying. Is there a market crash on the horizon? Bidenomics at work. It's entirely possible. I don't generally give fiscal advice for legal reasons, though. BW, makes sense they find way Newsom not to have to run. G. Phaser, fire up and encourage Venezuelan immigrants to enlist and liberate their homeland from the commies, should us choose to get involved. You'll end up with another Bay of Pigs invasion if you try that. That would be a bad idea. Alex Bogey, do you think Joe ran for POTUS just to pardon Hunter? No, I don't think that. I don't think that he ever expected there to be whistleblowers who would leak information to the public about his malfeasance. Let's see. Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Good morning, Clankers. Thank you to everyone. 10% coupon code Clank Army. Good on anything in the store through Sunday night. Spoons, keychains, and pendants, among other things, and more coming soon, as well as bookmarks, by the way. Probably my favorite. Yes, Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Link in the description to the merch page. Anton, is Anton in here? Yeah, Anton's in there. He's clanking. Deus Flex. Anyone notice everyone stopped talking about the UNLV shooting the second the identity of the perp was publicized? Many such coincidences. Leo McMahon. Hi, Sticks. I'm a newcomer, so please join me in my first clank. Thanks for the content. Thank you as well for the donation. Next news story. Particle physicists offer a roadmap for the next decade. They are trying to study the muon, which is a particle somewhat similar to the electron, and it exists in that scientific gray area that hasn't really fully been explored yet, sort of like the Higgs boson and things like that, or actually the theory of gravity, which is still not fully fleshed out or understood. Although I have my theory about it, I think that it has to do with spooky action at a distance with particle attraction. I can probably get on that on a video at some point. They're trying to build another collider somewhere in the United States, specifically to experiment with muons. So instead of firing the matter like they do at the Large Hadron Collider, they use, I think, protons, if I remember correctly. There would be more massive particles that they're working with. This would require a lot of money and a huge amount of technical expertise that only a few countries are capable of actually doing. A few European countries, the US, the Japanese probably could pull it off, and that's pretty much it. I don't think anyone else has both the money and resources and the minds to actually build a collider of any form, let alone something along the lines of what they're talking about. The siting of such a project, perhaps at the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Illinois, would restore American particle physics to a position of preeminence that was ceded to Europe in 1993 when Congress canceled the giant superconducting super collider. But it will take at least 10 years to demonstrate that the Muon collider could work and how much it would cost. Of course, imagine you build it and then you fire it up and it turns out that it doesn't work at all and you've dumped like $500 billion into the experiment. That would be humiliating to the US scientific community. I will say this, though, insofar as we can gain a greater understanding of the basic principles of science and explore things like gravity and dark matter and the Higgs boson and stuff, I actually support this. I realize that a lot of people have fear about colliders. And years ago, I remember people were worried that when the Large Hadron Collider powered up to maximum power capacity, it was going to like blow up and go off like a nuclear weapon. That actually hasn't happened. While I think that space exploration and advances in agriculture especially are more important than pretty much anything else right now, building a particle collider of this sort, I don't think it's a threat, number one, although some people think that it is. But again, I mean, the collider never blew up when it reached maximum power, so I don't know what the problem is. And things like that. Space exploration is more for the morale boost than anything. Like, hey, we landed on this object that we thought we couldn't land on, and stuff like that. We sampled a comet, we sampled an asteroid, the Artemis project with the moon, et cetera, et cetera. These things are, I think, more of a morale boost than anything else. I'd like to see astronauts land again on the moon. Yeah, of course. I'd love to see them land on Mars and immediately play some David Bowie music, of course. If they don't do that, then I'll be gravely disappointed. That being said, the applications of particle accelerator has expanded our knowledge of the basic functioning of particles and how they work. We barely understand anything about some of them, so I actually support it. I'm a big supporter of science, real science, which means not necessarily most aspects of climate science, number one, and honk honk, not necessarily all apply to medical science that we've seen over the last few years. Science in general, though, is fascinating. I want to see more research teams go out into the Amazon, dust down some tree and find, new weird varieties of insects, one of which might have a poison in it that cures cancer or something like that. I think that science is cool as long as it's real science and not pop science like you get from most of the science rags that actually get replicated by the legacy media. Yeah, supposedly, tarantulas for you. After they opened the gates of hell in the 70s, CERN wants more. Yikes. Yeah, supposedly demons should be roaming around like it should be Has-Been Hotel real life. Like angel dust should really be wandering the earth. But fortunately, that's not the case. How sad. The bonus hole sticks on that meme of yourself you shared a little bit ago. Check the replies. Jad, an awesome idea you should see. I'll check that after I'm done with the stream. BW, you think Trump won't be in running against Joe? Can he win? I think Trump will be the nominee, and I think he can win. Will he? I'm not sure. Can he? Abso-fucking-lutely. It'd be a better than 50-50 shot right now if the election were held today. Ministry of Wrongthink. Nothing more perfectly encapsulates government stupidity in trying to tax its way out of a problem that New York charging people for getting into traffic jams. It's like they want to turn the state red. Amy Hunter, good morning. It's great catching you live 2 days in a row. Thanks for all you do. Clank. Clank to you as well. Sparky, Turkey is the only significant military in NATO besides the U.S. One-on-one, they'd crush Greece. the UK and France and Germany exist. They have a significant industrial output. So I would not, although as far as land forces, I think you might be correct. France might edge them out. Not 100% sure. Mark Guidetti, Turkey has stolen land from the Bosporus to the sea. Byzantium will be free. Hashtag Misa, make Istanbul Constantinople again. And have a hard time doing that. Musically assured destruction, not to blackpill, but do you think the GOP will try to do a brokered convention and try to nominate Haley over Trump? I wouldn't put it past them. There are definite signs that they intend to at least press a brokered convention. I don't know if they'll be successful, and if they are, they're committing suicide as a party, so I don't really care. If they want to collapse as a party and stop existing, that's perfectly fine, because I'm not a Republican. Ellen Smithy, Weasel got into LHC in 15. World got weird after. By the way, please send me no more super chats. I've already gone through a shit ton of them. Beer and Gear. Good morning, Mr. Sticks. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to hit up Rumble and ask them why I'm not getting your live notifications when you spin up. Thanks. And King of Biltong. Good morning from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.landofbiltong.com and www.antonsusa.com. Thanks to Clankers Tobin, Joe, and Dustin for visiting. Happy weekend, all. Yeah, Liz's soup on the stove smells pretty good. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of my fucking news stories, though. I keep ranting. I have a problem with that. Everguard VPN. Once again, we are here to give Sticks the monies for the shout-out. Everguard VPN. Sparky, I figured out the gravity thing years ago. It's simple, but for some reason, I haven't figured out how to put it into words. I need to make a model where I can demonstrate how it works visually. I think it's just literally spooky action at a distance. That is, that a particle tends to associate with nearby particles, especially when bonded. But it can sporadically interact on a minute level with particles further out. And as the distance increases, the level of interaction is less and less likely. But since the particles are moving at massive amounts of speed and constantly spinning around and so forth, an electron isn't necessarily within a certain distance of the nucleus, etc. And so occasionally can interact and maybe even exchange with a particle at great distance. That's how I think gravity works. You've got a massive body with a shit ton of atoms, and each one of those atoms has a small chance of interacting at any given time with a foreign entity. And so it will tend to amalgamate more and more towards it. And that's gravity, basically. That's my particular belief. Sparky, ask Ukraine about European countries' industrial capacity lately. Have you been to Germany? There's an awful lot of factories there. And the Dutch are no slouches either, but they don't really have a functional military. I think that the Netherlands has 4 tanks, last I checked. I think. I don't know, the Leopards or Abrams? I'm not 100% sure. They're British, maybe. Hopefully they're Abrams or Leopards as opposed to the British tanks. They've got some problems. Next news story. I'm just going to cut out the Bitcoin and Elon Musk articles and just do this one because I'm really, really tired and I'm smelling the soup and I'm just fucking hungry and I don't want to go for the full hour. It's fucking Friday. Give me a break. I'll do those articles tomorrow. Maybe I'll do an extra live stream or something. Biden administration asserts power to seize drug patents in move to slash high prices. And unfortunately, it looks like this is established as being actually legal. So the Biden administration is going to de-incentivize the production of new drugs in order to stabilize prices because, I mean, Biden's so hard up for any economic victory at this point that he's like, well, if I can throw up a Hail Mary and lower people's drug prices, maybe I'll get some of the elderly voters going for me because the youth ain't having it. The college-educated female voters have left me behind. I'm hemorrhaging Hispanic voters. I'm beginning to lose the large-scale Democratic Party edge among black voters. I'm just going to pander to my fellow elderly people and give them cheaper drugs. Here's the problem. The government is the reason for high drug pricing. The government has established effectively a de facto monopolistic system for the major pharmaceutical corporations by making it so burdensome in a regulatory sense. If I, for example, tomorrow, let's say that I set up a lab in my garage, assuming that I don't get raided by the FDA, the ATF, the FBI, or some other group in the process. I'm above board. I'm just playing around with chemicals, and I managed to discover an absolute cure for AIDS. So, not a treatment. You take a couple of these pills and you no longer have HIV. I can wipe it off the face of the earth. I've got $1 billion idea. Let's say I can manufacture it cheap too. Like, man, I can manufacture this pill for $2 and, within a couple of years, there won't be any AIDS anymore. We'll fucking feed them to the chimpanzees and we will literally end HIV as we know it. Huzzah! People can go back to having unprotected sex more easily. What happens next? Under the models in some countries, I can proceed with attempting to get investment, sell the pills. I can do animal trials, human trials, etc., and hopefully I can make a profit in the process of curing a formerly uncurable disease. In the United States, though, the process is so lengthy, so burdensome, and FDA approval so fickle, and so top-down, and so aimed towards defending the corporate monopoly that is the pharmaceutical system, I ain't going nowhere. It doesn't matter how safe my drug is. It doesn't matter how obviously well it works. It doesn't matter. It's 100% effective, no side effects. It can be manufactured for a few pennies a goddamn pill. Never get approved. Never. I will die before it gets approved. If I don't get assassinated, then I'll die of natural causes before the FDA actually lets it through. What do I have to do? I have to suck cock with a pharmaceutical corporation, GlaxoSmithKline or Pfizer or something, and I have to sell the patent to them. That's why your drugs are expensive. Not because government doesn't do enough, but because government does too much and makes it too burdensome. And once again, we have our old friend differential enforcement in the mix, whereby the mainline pharmaceutical company can pay a couple of bureaucrats and they get their pill fast-tracked. Oh, you brought back thalidomide? That's perfectly fine. We're sure it won't have any problems with it. Oh, you're giving megadose AZT to people who with AIDS? Well, it sounds way better than that entrepreneur over there. He's a psychopath. He's trying to give people pills that cost 2 cents to make. We can make a lot more money your way, so you've got approval. The entrepreneur does not have approval, but the entrepreneur will get approval if that drug patent is sold to GlaxoSmithKline or Pfizer. And that's really the problem. What Biden is doing is attempting to create another layer of government to solve a problem that government actually itself created. They created the pharmaceutical monopolies that allow them, with patent law attendant, that allow them to perpetually suppress generic alternatives. The government has banned importation from other countries, even when, again, there is a safe, effective, proven generic or otherwise alternative being offered on the worldwide market that anyone else in the world can generally get a hold of, but not American citizens. That's what caused the prices of pharmaceuticals to skyrocket. It's just like with education. Government is trying to come in and forgive the student loans. Well, the student loans wouldn't even be necessary for the average person unless the government had come in and given limitless grants, etc., to educational facilities by which they build usually another sports stadium or another, wokeness lounge or something, the black only space or something, the smoking lounge. They wouldn't be nearly as expensive if government would just butt out. In a free market, education would be cheaper. Medicine would be cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. Look at tech, for example. When I was young, computers cost an arm and a leg. They were massively expensive. Now you can get a decent computer for far less based on the wage growth and the value of the dollar. The price is actually down, even though the actual currency's value has dropped off a cliff. For instance, I have a Victus laptop over here. It's a low-end gaming laptop. It's not anything particularly special, but it's reasonably good. And it cost about $700. The first laptop that I got was effectively a goddamn beater back in the late 2000s, and it cost $550. And that's the free market at work. It has dropped the price considerably. You don't have this in medicine. You don't have this within education. You don't have this in anything that government meddles in to a particular degree. The fact is that when Biden is threatening to seize the patents of companies that refuse to drop the prices, they're just going to disincentivize the development of new drugs. You will get a generic alternative, but you could have had that without the government's involvement in the first place by simply reforming the patent law. You don't need to have the government come in and assert its right to seize patents, which is, again, apparently effectively legal, although it definitely should not be legal. If you have a patent, you have an idea or something, you should be able to capitalize upon it. Other people should also be able to synthesize the same thing, not use your brand name because it's the brand effectively involved with the patent other than the development stage, and offer a generic alternative driving the cost down. That's all you have to do. But Biden doesn't want that. He wants to nationalize the healthcare industry. That's the whole goal here. The whole goal here is the takeover of the pharmaceutical industry more directly by the U.S. government and nothing more. And yes, the baby is over there getting changed. Another reason why I'm going to cut it short a little bit early. That and the fact that that soup smells godly. Sparky, it's much simpler than that. Yes, but you must explain things as well. No Nord Stream, no German industry. By the way, I used to live there. Oh, interesting. There is definitely German industry, though. There's plenty in the Netherlands, too. Mainly brewing. Mike L2535, again, please send no more super chats. I'm asking you not to send me more money for a reason. Russia is losing the optics war, but is winning where it matters. Same with Israel. To an extent, absolutely. I would agree with you. Dat Pie over there. If Colombia had an actual leader instead of a former T word, it could have been our best shot to take that failed state and restore our empire. Colombian food looks pretty cool. I can master a few of those fucking recipes, especially this time of year. Like I get the smoothies at the Jumbo, and I get the tropical flavored ones this time of year because I'm like, I've got to put it back in my mind and remember that there's a place in the world where pineapples are growing right now. You don't get a whole lot of sun this time of year in the Netherlands. Sith22, hey Sticks, put some snaps on the leather jacket to stop it from flopping over. T, leather enjoyer. Vulcus, oh, to be a sewer rat emerging from Nikki Six's toilet. You mean Andy Six. Deverick, don't tell me not to give you money. All good guys. Sticks, please send no more super chats. Me, don't tell me what to do, bro. Besides, this is a Rumble rant. Please don't send those either, because I'm going to lose my focus with the baby playing over there, and also because of my hunger, because Liz's potato leek soup is pretty friggin' good. Let's put it that way. And it's definitely the weather for it. It's like dreary and shit like that. So I'm not going to get to the last two news stories. Bitcoin is at a recent high, though, so we'll just point that out. I'll probably carry it over for tomorrow, and I'll maybe get to it then. I'll try to fit it into the docket, and then we get the Iger Musk story, but that won't be news tomorrow. It'll be 2 days outdated, so I'll probably just drop that one. I'll do my best. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now. I thank you all for showing up. Over about 4,500 people at peak, and I thank you for all of your super chats and Rumble rants, and I'll be back on Monday. Remember, tomorrow I will be doing the last literary update of the year, because the final work, number 420, by the way, is available. That's about all. Peace out.